Hey, Moses Magnum here. Another heavy metal minute. Uh, Vinyl has outsold CD sales in the last couple weeks. I think they sold something like, I don't even know the figure, but it's the first time that's happened since 1986. So yeah, it's an achievement for vinyl records. I actually just got the Chemist vinyl for their EP, Doomed Heavy Metal. It's a really good album. 3 songs recorded and 3 live ones. They do a cover of Rainbow in the Dark in it. And it's a really good version of that song. I love that Dio song. It's one of my favorites. But the song that really stuck out to me was a song called A Conversation with Death. And I actually remember hearing that at the gym back when gyms were allowed to open. And that I heard that song pop up on Gimme Radio, and Gimme Radio is pretty cool because it gives you the option to buy it. And I'm thinking, oh, I'll buy the song like on iTunes or whatever. And then actually the EP hadn't come out, so they just pre-ordered it. I paid like $11 for it or something, and yeah, came in the mail, good condition, good version of it. Really enjoyed it. But yeah, check out Chemist. You know, I technically contributed to that vinyl statistic of outselling CDs, which is, it doesn't feel all that different, but I think it's kind of cool. Dino from Fear Factory, he has revealed that there is an album, an album of Fear Factory coming out. You know, back in 2016, they said that an album would be coming out 2017 in the summer, and that never happened. Then Burton C. Bell, the singer, teased album art for something called Monolith, which was a Fear Factory album that never came out. And then around 2018 or so, Dino, the guitarist, was like, whoa, I guess there's never any Fear Factory stuff coming out. Earlier this year, in September, Dino had a birthday. Happy birthday, Dino. And he said, hey, it's a shitty year. We're in the middle of a lawsuit, and they need money to finish the album, and they don't have a label. Now, the label, we'll see what happens. They did start a GoFundMe, Dino did, to finish the album. And so we might be getting an album later next year if you guys go ahead and fund it. I gave my $25, so we'll see. Hopefully that works and it'll go through. But I would like to hear some good Fear Factory. I would love to have Raymond and Christian like on the albums, but I guess that's part of the lawsuit, is they got to get the rights from those guys to be able to put it out, and then they have to finish the album. In another comment later on, Burton C. Bell, the singer, said that the GoFundMe doesn't affect them at all. Now some people might think, oh, that's drama. They're hurting themselves, and Dino's trying to be greedy, and but no, what it actually kind of means is that his contribution to the album is already done. Burton, the singer, had already laid down the vocal tracks, and I guess they didn't need drums or bass because that's part of what the lawsuit is. I mean, we don't really know for sure. This is my speculation, and it's a tricky time for Fear Factory. I'm Moses Magnum. This has been Heavy Metal Minute. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was In Absentia Dei. In Absentia Dei was a virtual concert for Behemoth. They actually rented out a church, and it's the church where they filmed Blow Your Trumpets, Gabriel, the music video. That's that area, and he's the guy. He knows the owner, and it's an old church, concrete church, evangelical church in Poland. And he said, well, there was whole speculation leading up to it because Poland recently has a Catholic government, and they are really, really trying to fuck with Nergal and the boys in Behemoth for their blasphemy, because they've made blasphemy illegal. But because of Behemoth's earlier Polish Supreme Court case where, Poland, because of that, Poland now has free speech, they're having a tough time to get at these boys from Behemoth. And so they keep fucking with him. They keep taking him to court. He keeps spending money. In Absentia Dei was not a free event. It wasn't like Comic-Con at home. I mean, when you kind of, now with COVID and shit, like, there's no real touring, and a lot of bands are doing these things, these virtual concerts. Code Orange does a really good one on Twitch every week on Monday. And what they actually do is they kind of just have a jam session. They hang out, and sometimes it'll be just like a guitar clinic with Reba Myers, which, happy belated birthday to Reba Myers. She's fantastic, and she's a great part of Code Orange. Like, everybody in Code Orange is great, but this isn't that topic. The Behemoth charged something like $18 for a virtual ticket, but they sold packages with the shirts, the long sleeve shirts, and short sleeve shirts, and physical tickets. And I think I ended up paying somewhere with shipping and everything, somewhere around $70. I believe I got a long sleeve shirt, and I got the actual ticket badge, like VIP badge, which almost every time I go see Behemoth, I end up getting one of those because I just like them. I don't know, maybe I'll post them on Instagram or something, my collection of them. But yeah, it's one of those things where you paid for a virtual experience. Now, this virtual experience for In Absentia Dei was amazing. Like, let me go a little bit before. They did a free opening act. You can see the opening act free on YouTube. I think you could still see it. And it was a band that I reviewed here on Fraction of Forever before. And it was, whatchamacallit? Imperial Triumphant. Imperial Triumphant was the opening act. And they played, I want to say, about like a good 7 songs. And that was great because Imperial Triumphant is like a strikingly, visually striking band in the terms that they look and how they look and how they play. Really, I didn't expect the sound that when I reviewed Imperial Triumphant's album Alphaville in a previous episode. It was a really big sound, and I didn't realize how few people are in the band. I mean, it's really, I want to say 3 people, and then they have like a couple guest people doing like a tambourine or an accordion or some shit, like, and they had that, like, they didn't sample no trumpets or saxophones in this event, which could be easy, like that would be the easier way to do it logistically, because it's not like they can go. I think they rented out a little bar with a little stage, like it looks like a comedy club, like really narrow like that, like a basement, like the starting warm-up room in like the Comedy Store or the Comedy Cellar, and they basically they played a bunch of songs, and it was great. It was great to see them live, and it really, really like cements the fact, if you go back and listen, like how I really wanted to see them live after hearing the album, but I really want like a fantasy venue. Like, I want the perfect venue because of the sound and everything. But the audio was mixed really well. I know when people, especially with these virtual events, like whether it's a Comic-Con or DC Fandom, which just happened, even with the Code Orange Twitch streams, you got Matt Heafy's like Trivium stuff. These bands tend to do a better job at mixing stuff, but when you try to watch like a band performance or a musical performance on like a Tonight Show or Jimmy Kimmel, like the audio is a little off. Like, they have to do some pre-recorded things, but these, I believe, were live. If not, Imperial Triumphant wasn't live, and I know the Behemoth one was, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But everything sounded good, and it didn't sound pre-recorded, but it sounded nice and fresh, and the streaming quality, their bandwidth was good, because I know that could give a little bit of lag. But yeah, I was happy to see Imperial Triumphant in this. And then there was Behemoth, the main act on the marquee of Behemoth. and they had what I thought was pre-recorded segments in between songs, like little visuals. And when you talk about these, they are very, very visually striking, black and white. And at one point they crucified a woman. And at this point, I'm like, man, they crucified a woman. And it's like, and when you say crucify, I mean, not the nail through the hand. Like, what they do is they put the meat hooks in the back and on the arms, and then pull her up in the middle of that church, that stone church that they used as a venue. And I'm like, okay, well, it's one of these performance artists, which is cool. Like they got that. I haven't seen Behemoth do that when I've seen them live, but it's like, okay, this is something good to add to this. And I figured, hey, it's a pre-recorded thing that they're like interlacing. And then the camera pans from behind Nergal and the boys, and you see at the other end of the church the lady hanging, like with the people that pulled the ropes. And it's like, oh, this is happening in real time. And so there was a couple moments like that were really cool. They actually they set the church on fire. I didn't say they burned it down, but they did set it on fire, which was like sophisticated pyrotechnics, because it looked like they had a drone flying around it, and it looked like it was burning during I believe it was the chant for Eschaton, like one of the best songs. And then they closed the show with my favorite, "Oh Father, Oh Satan, Oh Son." But the cameras were so well done, and I cannot express how sophisticated this live stream was in comparison to, well, in general, but in comparison to your whatchamacallit, your DC fandoms and your Comic Cons at home, and was a free comic book day at home. Like, this had, I want to say it was like a 8-person camera shoot. They use actual television cameras with the big lenses, so you can focus from like 50 feet away and zoom in from 50 feet away and look like you're right in front of the guy. But it's a nice aspect ratio so that you don't look like you're missing the foreground and background, and the focal points are good, and it looked almost like a newscast, but with the like newscast quality, broadcast newscast quality. And but you're watching a Behemoth performance, and it was a great experience. I think it was about an hour and 40 minutes. They actually prepare you, when I talk about the quality of it, it's just before everything, they prepare you in what the type, they says, okay, if you're watching it on this device, you got to do this. You can AirPlay it to your TV. You can Chromecast it. If you're watching on your computer, you got to make sure your connection is stable. They even explained how sometimes your router, like, will say it's full bars, but your actual internet connection might be spotty, or sometimes your internet connection that you pay for is really good, but your router is a little spotty. Like, almost, they gave you preemptive IT support so that you wouldn't miss this, because it was only shown live and it was not shown after. They might release a DVD or something, I don't know. I mean, I use my little magic to keep a version of it for myself, which I will never share, because that would be disrespectful for the band, but I do want it for myself to watch it at least one more time. I did buy the director's cut video on demand option, which added to the price also. And what that does is you watch it after the fact, and the camera switch at the director's discretion. However, if you watched it live and you use the virtual option, it's an 8-camera shoot, and you can pick which camera you want to look through. Which, that was amazing in and of itself. Like, your ability to do that is actually really, really cool. And I did not want anything taken away from my experiencing of the music and what they're showing me. So I just picked the director's cut. Like, have somebody switch cameras for me. I'm not doing work for you, And it was a very sophisticated, and needless to say, they didn't get arrested. So it was happy ending after all. And that's one of the speculations with a lot of heavy metal journalism sections was, are they gonna get arrested? But yeah, that's my review of In Absentia Dei. It was an awesome experience. I loved it, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fraction of Forever. Please hit like and subscribe. I have to say that because it's YouTube, and this is where I'm at now. I haven't figured out a good way to do this. And also, what I've noticed from listening back to the other episodes of Fraction of Forever is that if you have trouble sleeping, this might be a good podcast to turn on in your headphones and you can knock out a little. I don't know, maybe it's good for something. At the very least, it's good for me to get a little catharsis in these weird and uncertain and hopeless times. And I know that everything will pass, but in the meantime, we're all going to just have to wait for that time, which is going to take a fraction of forever.